America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. Frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Crazy does not begin to describe the ramifications of this. The Dems and Libs have learned just about nothing since 2016, and if you thought this election would be anything different, you're sadly mistaken.
She herself left it all on the field. Yes. But I do have an indictment of some of the strategy. And again, the people that said Joe Biden was the problem. Where's my camera?
He was not the solution. He was not the solution.
I will just note that it is probably not the best idea that Democrats orchestrated a very public stab fest, a proverbial stabbing in the front of the sitting president of the United States of America, and then didn't use him in his hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania.
MSNBC's Simone Sanders appears to be convinced that the optics surrounding Joe Biden dropping out of the race is to blame for Harris's embarrassing defeat, completely ignoring the fact that Biden was even less popular than Harris at the time of the switch.
I don't know who they think they were playing to when they let millions of people come cruising through the border at their own will. Because of their own decisions, they came running through that border, and they didn't do a thing about it. And a lot of people are very angry about that. Working people especially, they feel that they've been betrayed. They feel that their country has been given away, and they don't like it. And I don't know who liked it. The Hispanics apparently didn't like it. They want the law enforced. And so I'm not sure they were playing to anything that was smart here in terms of an open border. And that's what it is, an open border.
Chris Matthews completely misses the point about Harris trying to outflank the Republicans on immigration. It was the Dems' responsibility to communicate that the border isn't and never was open. Immigration itself is not an issue, but the broken system we have in place to process immigrants and migrants, as well as the foreign policy and economic decisions our country makes, should have been the focus of the campaign's messaging, to explain how those factors incentivize desperate people to do whatever it takes to work for a better life in our country. You will never be able to beat the Republicans on racism and xenophobia, and Harris should have never adopted that framing.
The inevitability of this actually looks as if it was there. I think the only bet that could have been done differently, and I don't even know how you do it because it's reproductive rights, but we were just talking about white women. This is the second time that Democrats bet the House on white women and suburban white women. And this is the second time they've been left at the altar by suburban white women.
While Bakari Sellers offers a more sober approach and indictment of the Dems' performance in this election, they simply could not effectively communicate to voters why Harris deserved their vote.
There are levels of sexism and racism that clearly a lot of people in this country are willing to tolerate. This isn't a Democratic problem per se, because it's not a problem that can be solved with a campaign. These are deep-rooted issues in our country that we absolutely need to address. The coalition that we had relied on is now 30 years old, and it has frayed. And that is something that I think as a party going forward, folks need to figure out what that coalition is going to look like.
There was an even better take. An acceptable level of bigotry that is permitted and encouraged in our country. And Trump and the Republicans played into that masterfully. Still, though, if you make the focal point of your campaign to offer voters tangible policies that would materially improve their lives instead of running on not being Trump, you could at least dampen the influence that racism and sexism have on the campaign's central message.
I am tired of trying to explain to leftist accelerationists that you are not going to convince the Democrats to be more left-wing by putting the far-right nutjobs in office. That you are not going to spite the Democratic Party or the powers that be by not electing them. That you are not going to show them you're not holding them accountable. You are strapping the country and the most marginalized people in it to the rails. I am tired trying to explain to people that the world they dream of cannot be accomplished with a single phone call, no matter what people who do nothing but run for president every 4 years tells you.
Ole could not have said it better. It is entirely the fault of the Dems for not adhering to the wishes of their loyal base of support, which ultimately ended up giving credence to the comically false notion that the party would respond to protest votes and abstaining from voting. Just so we're 100% clear, anyone on the left who did not vote for Harris is not to blame for her loss. The party's strategy in abandoning their wants and needs to chase moderate Republican and never-Trumper voters is to blame. And would you look at that? Who could have guessed that trotting out Liz Cheney, giving a cabinet position to Republicans and running a center-right campaign would have literally no effect on the direction registered Republican voters chose to go? Wow. New York State Senator Jabari Brisport said exactly what the people need to hear and the exact opposite of what the Dems have been telling them. Our system is fundamentally broken, and the target must be put on the backs of billionaires and corporations who really run the show. But until we unite along class lines and recognize the real enemy, the Dems will continue selling out our lives and futures. We'll leave you with this to end. The Dems have once again failed its own base and the rest of the world. And the saddest part is that you could have seen this coming from a mile away. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports, and or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.